So essentially, the Trump account is formerly known as a Section 530A account. And this is an investment account for kids. And it can be funded by a family, it can be funded by employers. There can be money that comes in from nonprofits or the government. And the biggest benefit to this for me that I see is that it's different than an IRA. And we talk a lot with our clients about, and we have a lot of clients that do this, put the kids on the payroll. They've now got earned income, so now they can fund an IRA. Well, this is one big difference with the Trump accounts is that the child is not required to have earned income to be able to fund the account. And so really this opens it up to almost every child. So your child literally could be born today. You can set the account up for them and fund it tomorrow. And you don't have to pretend like they're doing modeling and paying them that way. So it really is it's a new thing. Obviously, it's really cool. And I think it's a great opportunity for those of us that have children, whether they're newborns and fit within these certain years where they get the free seed money, or again, I've got I mentioned I have a oldest son is over 18, but I've got a child that's 14 and I've got another daughter that's 9. I'm going to set up Trump accounts and fund those for those, and we'll go through an example at the end to show while hey, maybe we're missing out because they're relatively older, but they can still accumulate some significant wealth. And when they turn 18, we'll talk about what happens to the account and the ability to kind of get it into a different vehicle that can really create some great wealth for them down the road. So essentially, like it says, the one thing that's a little bit different about these accounts is that it's invested essentially in a index fund or an ETF. So you do have limited investment options compared to an IRA. I know a lot of our clients are heavily focused and interested in self-directing their retirement accounts and other accounts. And so, with the Trump accounts, it is a relatively vanilla investment. But again, it's structured, I think, purposefully in that way, because it is open to everybody. I think that's purposefully why they structured it in a way where the investment opportunities are relatively vanilla. What I will say with this is that, while it is great that it's open to everybody, I don't think it's necessarily the best account for every goal. And so, for instance, if you say, hey, I'm specifically saving for college, maybe a 529 is better. Maybe if your state, like I'm in Florida, Florida has a Florida prepaid tuition plan. Maybe that's a better vehicle if you're saving for a specific type of thing. But again, I think if you are just saving in general for your child, and again, maybe you've got a child that's relatively young and they're not kind of at that age where you can put them on payroll, this is a great opportunity to put money into an account and have it grow in a tax advantage manner. So we'll go through this and let's just talk about who is eligible for this account. Essentially, it needs to be a U.S. citizen. They need to have a social security number, and they need to be under age 18. One question that's come up a lot is that each child may only have one Trump account. And so if you've got a situation where maybe you as the parent want to fund, or the grandparent wants to fund, or it doesn't even really have to be a grandparent, it could be a sibling, it could be anyone essentially. But you do have to have a little bit of coordination around that, because while you can have, similar to the IRA, you can have multiple IRAs as long as you don't go over that contribution limit. You can only have one Trump account, and you do have that contribution limit. And so you want to make sure that if maybe you've got grandparents that say, hey, I want to do this as a gift to my grandchild, and they fund the account, you need to make sure that you as a parent are coordinating with them so that you don't overfund the account. Now, a lot of these times, and we'll talk about where the accounts are and how they're set up. From what I've read, there are some I guess, guardrails in place that will stop you from allowing to be able to over contribute. So once you hit that $5,000 contribution mark, they will kind of stop the contribution. But I hate to just rely on that because, again, it works similar to an IRA where if you do make an excess contribution, then it could be subject to that same 6% excise penalty tax that if you don't take that excess contribution out by the end of the year. Essentially, to create this, you need to file a form 4547. And again, this is, I'll not involve politics, but if you can read between the lines, you may understand why it was named Form 4547. Obviously, these are called Trump accounts. That's really the first step, is filing that Form 4547. And you can either file that with your 2025 return if you haven't filed already, or you can go to trumpaccounts.gov. There's actually an app also that you can download